2020 on the case. The outrage over people being lazy, slacking off, not doing their jobs. Just this week, that video going viral, the UPS man kicking that $12,000 package. Whatever happened to handle with care?
You might be thinking we all know someone at work who isn't pulling their weight, but tonight, what if not doing your job cost someone their life? Chris Conley up first here with the moment on the train tracks, leaving many asking, whose job was that?
Follow the muddy waters of the Altamaha River westward, past the Spanish Moss and the cypress trees in backcountry Georgia, and the river brings you to a century-old train trestle. Here, this February, a film crew would gather to shoot a movie's first scene. But the set would quickly turn into a place of real-life horror.
Just kept saying over and over, Lord help us, God help us, Lord help us.
On the film crew, put in harm's way, this young woman would suffer an all but unimaginable fate just for doing her job.
She fell in love with the camera.
She was Sarah Jones, raised in South Carolina without showbiz connections. She earned her film crew stripes during an internship in Charleston on Army Wives, as her parents Richard and Elizabeth remember.
Why do you think she was drawn to the camera department?
It's a challenge of it, I think. I think it, for the most part, it's a man's world, and I think that was a little bit of a challenge to her.
Competition.
Sarah Jones would become a camera assistant, the last sight the camera would see before a scene began. For multiple seasons on The Vampire Diaries.
This guy doesn't know that you're a vampire. Let's keep it.
Such stars as Nina Dobrev and Ian Somerhalder knew Sarah well.
Sarah, the first time I saw her, I mean, she was literally right in front of my face. She was doing the slate. You couldn't help but notice Sarah Jones.
Great.
Just always wanted to be around her.
She always had a smile on her face and was just the uber professional. She was my sister, you know? She was my cosmic sister.
Even on the vacations she loved, Sarah Jones liked setting up her shots just so.
She always was up for anything. She wanted to do bigger things, go to new countries, work on features, and get her name out there.
Rolling!
In search of those opportunities, she'd leave Vampire Diaries in May of 2013. Soon, a huge break. Getting hired on the Fast and the Furious 7, as her parents recall.
She was in the position she was striving so hard to be in. Get her foot in the door on feature film.
But then, a tragedy with a star.
Paul Walker, one of the stars of the enormously popular Fast and Furious movies, dead in a car crash.
Production would be postponed for months, so Sarah took her own fateful path, taking a camera assistant gig based out of Savannah on the movie Midnight Rider. Based on the memoir by Greg Allman of the Allman Brothers, starring Oscar winner William Hurt, Midnight Rider would be an independent film, written, produced, and directed by this man, Randall Miller.
Sarah mentioned to me that it is a low-budget film, and she was a little bit surprised that some of the people did not have the level of expertise that she expected.
Shooting had yet to begin on the film when, on Thursday, February 20th, cast and crew drove 2 hours to this location in Doctortown, Georgia. Among those arriving were Sarah and hairstylist Joyce Gilliard.
I was told that it wasn't actual principal photography. The actual day we're supposed to start shooting was going to be that Monday.
A pre-shoot, that's what it said on the schedule. But once they got there, the crew realized Randall Miller wanted to shoot a full scene. A dream sequence in which Greg Allman, from his hospital bed, imagines his late brother, guitarist Duane Allman, across the bridge. 2 trains passed by, one at 3:45 in the afternoon. It came time to set up for the day's money shot, 30 feet above the water.
The plan for the scene was to set up a hospital bed on train tracks. You've got a hospital bed, you've got heavy camera equipment, and an entire crew loaded onto this train trestle.
Joyce Gilliard heard someone telling those assembled what to do if a train was spotted.
You have 60 seconds to get off the track. I was more or less 60 seconds to get off the track, and I started praying. I'm mad at myself because I didn't say something.
There was no on-set medic. There were no railroad officials present. Location manager Charlie Baxter was not there. Moments after filming began, just before 4:30 p.m., this dream sequence turned into a nightmare.
I don't know who yelled anything. All I know, I heard and I saw the train. And you just immediately started running.
CSX train Q12519 with 2 locomotives and 37 freight cars, barreling down the track at an estimated 57 miles per hour.
I saw the light of that train. It was like the train was right there. So you had seconds to figure out what you were gonna do.
Sarah was trying to get the equipment off the track, as a good camera person would, because it's expensive, camera equipment.
Cast and crew had to run toward the oncoming train along this narrow pathway to save their lives. Joyce saw Randall Miller and another crew member trying to yank the hospital bed off the tracks.
When I realized that I could not get to land, that's when I ran to the side and held on to the iron girder, and I prayed I didn't get hit by the train. The pressure from the wind from the train was so strong that holding on to the girder, I wasn't able to. It pulled me off.
The train struck Joyce Gilliard's left arm after smashing into the hospital bed, shrapnel flying everywhere. Joyce closed her eyes.
I couldn't believe what was happening. Thought about dying. And my family getting that call.
The train's impact had snapped a bone in Joyce's left arm. Blood poured from the wound. Joyce opened her eyes once more.
Sarah was the first person I saw. She was lying on the side of the tracks dead. You didn't know it was her. You didn't know it was her.
I received a phone call from one of her friends. She said, "Sarah's no longer here." I said, "What do you mean? You mean as in dead?" She said, "Yes, ma'am."
It was rough. I mean, it took the wind out of me. It's very hard.
Sarah Jones was 27 years old. Hours later, the phone rang again. It was the director of Midnight Rider.
Randall Miller called us that day. He was very upset.
He was crying.
He was nearly hysterical. And he was saying, "I'm so sorry." He couldn't say much more than that.
But why had Randall Miller allowed his crew to shoot on live tracks? Sarah Jones's parents and police demand answers, as allegations emerge of Randall Miller's reported recklessness on another film.
He would say, "But we're trying to make a movie here," as if that outweighed the needs or the safety or the welfare or of other people. It was like that's some kind of magic card.
And footage released today from a camera mounted on the locomotive shows those last horrifying moments as the crew members of Midnight Rider scramble for their lives.